friends, this is Miss Nichols. Welcome to my home art studio. Today we're going to be working on creating some art together, which I'm super excited about because I miss you guys so much. So what we're going to create today is going to be this collage of a polar bear, and then the background is inspired by a Canadian painter named Ted Harrison, and he's really famous for all of his really interesting landscape paintings, which is an image of something outdoors, right? Now for this project, all you're going to need is going to be 2 pieces of paper. And if you only have 1 piece of paper, that's fine. You can just draw the background around your bear, and a pencil, some crayons, and if you have some markers, that's cool too. And if you don't, that's totally fine. Now my first grade friends, you guys already started this project and you enjoyed it so much that that's why I've chosen it for my first project for us to do this week, because I want you to be able to finish this project, okay? So if you feel like you already know the steps, then you can do your second version and be a pro at drawing this polar bear, okay? For the rest of you, go ahead and grab your supplies and we'll get started. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started on this super cute little polar bear. For this drawing of the bear, all you're gonna need is a pencil, but I'm actually gonna use a marker just so you can see what I'm drawing a little bit easier, okay? So you're gonna start with a vertical piece of paper. So that means it's straight up and down, okay? Vertical, remember, like Veronica the giraffe, okay? And you're gonna take your pencil. If at any point I'm going too fast with this drawing, just pause the video so that you can catch up, okay? So you're gonna find the middle of your paper. You're gonna take your 2 fingers at the edges, slide them together at the same speed, and where they bump together, that's the middle of your paper. I'll show you again. You put 2 fingers here, slide together, where they bump, that's the middle of your paper. In the middle of your paper, you're gonna draw an oval. And an oval looks like a circle that's been squished, okay? The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna add a small circle inside that oval. You're gonna color all around that little oval, okay? And you're leaving that little oval white. This is gonna be our polar bear's nose, and that white spot is actually gonna look like a highlight. So it's gonna look like he's got that shiny, wet nose. I'm taking my time, making sure my coloring is thick and juicy. If you want to color this with your pencil, great. If you want to color it with a black crayon, cool. If you want to color with a marker, that's great too. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come beneath that oval and we're going to draw a little smiley face as a happy bear. And then we're going to draw a vertical line that comes straight down. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come up above that nose right about here, curve down and out, under, and back up. It almost looks like a shape of like an avocado. Okay, that's going to be his nose. That's like his little snout that's coming out from his face. You starting to see him come to life? The next thing we're going to add is our polar bear's eyes. So we found this point. Okay, you came all the way around and back up. Here's your point. On either side of this, you're going to draw a little circle. You want these to be around the same size, but they do not have to be the exact same size, okay? And then we're gonna add highlights to these eyes by adding a small circle here and a small circle there. Okay, now it kind of looks like our bear is looking off to the side. So same thing as the nose, you're gonna color in these eyes. And take your time, make sure you're staying in those lines. There is no need to rush. I'm gonna come over to this one. Look at that bear. There he is. I see him. If you want this to be a lady bear, you could add some eyelashes. Okay, maybe your bear's wearing glasses. This eye looks a little bit bigger, so I'm going to add a little bit more color around there. There. Okay, great. So that's our bear's face. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our bear's body. Okay, so you can see down here it's pretty wide, and as it comes up, it gets a little closer together, almost to a point. So it's going to come up around the eyes and back down. So I'm going to start at the bottom of my paper, out towards the edge, kind of pretty far out to the edge. And we'll touch right here at the bottom of the paper, and I'm going to come up and I'm going to start moving in towards my bear's eyes, curve over, and then I'm going to come back down and out. He looks almost like a seal now, doesn't he? That's pretty silly. So then we're going to add his ears. So we're going to come right up here, do a little half circle, float across, half circle. Okay, now he's got itty bitty little ears. It's pretty silly. I don't know they hear very much with those teeny tiny ears. So we're going to make them a little bit bigger. We're going to color in these first. Do you know that polar bears actually have black skin? Isn't that interesting? But their fur makes it look like they're white. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start right out here and add another curve. Now he's looking a little bit more like a bear. See how I added those ears to him? Super cute. So now we're going to add 2 little paws down to the front, kind of like he's patting his belly. Okay, maybe he either just ate something really yummy or maybe he's excited about looking forward to eating something. So we're going to come down here beneath where his little snout is. Start here and you're going to curve down like that. Okay, and then you're going to curve around and back up. Now you want to do the same thing over here. It's like you're taking this and flipping it over. So I'm going to kind of look where I am right here, float across, start, curve down, and back up. Now I'm going to give him some little claws. So what I'm going to do is just do a little curve or a little oval right there. I'm going to give him 4 claws. If you want to give him 5 claws, great. If you want to give him 3 claws, that's cool too. Or no claws. It's your bear. Okay, now we want our bear to look furry, but we obviously can't color him in because he's white. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start adding these little dotted lines, which is going to make him look furry, but he's still going to remain a white polar bear. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with his ears. And you're going to draw a little dotted line, almost like the dotted lines you see in the middle of the street, right? Okay, if you want to add a couple extras at the bottom of each ear, you can, but that's all the dots I'm going to add to that ear because I still want that ear to stay white like a polar bear. I'm going to come over to this side and do the same thing. I'm going to add some little dotted lines, maybe a couple more at the edges. Okay, there's his ears. Now, I want to add a dotted line that goes all the way up and around like this. So I'm just going to do a short little line. It's like you're drawing the number 1 over and over again, or a lowercase l. And sometimes I give myself little sound effects like boop, 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 boop. That helps me sometimes. Boop, 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 boop. And if you want to add some extra little lines up top, you can. And you want to make sure that those lines are going with the direction of the outside line. Okay, so notice how I didn't make the lines go straight across. I curved them around his head. Same thing with the ears. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, now we're going to add a few dotted lines to the top of his nose. So right up like this. And you can add more or less. Your bear. I'm going to come around like this because I want it to look like his little muzzle sticking out. So I'm going to add a few right here. You can add some over his nose if you want. Okay. You can add some under his mouth or maybe under his chin. I definitely want to add some under his chin because I want it to look like a shadow is kind of peeking out like that. See how he's starting to come to life? Okay, so then I'm gonna come down here and work on his paws. I don't really want to add many more pieces of fur because I want him to look like a white polar bear. And you'll notice right here, I kind of laid my arm in the ink and some of it got on my skin and it got on my bear. That's okay. I'm not upset about it. I'm still gonna keep going with him. Okay, so if that happens and you're drawing with a marker and it smears or something like that, don't worry, okay? That's a beautiful oops. Keep going. Makes your art look more interesting. So I'm going to add these little dots of fur. Then I'm going to come back down here around the edge of him. We're almost done with our bear. Okay, and there's our bear. How cute is he? All right, so to cut out our bear, we're going to remember to take our time, okay? And we are going to remember when we cut with one hand, this is the hand that cuts the whole time, but that's all it does. Remember this other hand that's holding the paper, that's the hand that does all the work. You're going to be constantly moving and twisting your paper, okay? So I'm gonna pick up my bear, and I wanna make sure that when I cut him out, I'm gonna cut all along there. I don't wanna cut his ears off, okay? And I'm gonna cut the whole outer shape of him out. Now, if you only have one piece of paper, don't cut your bear out. You'll just draw the background around here, okay? But if you have 2 pieces of paper, you're gonna go ahead and cut out your bear now. So I'm gonna pick up my bear, and I've got my scissors. I'm gonna open up my scissors, and I'm gonna sit my paper right there in the base of my scissors, okay? And I wanna keep making sure that my scissors are cutting right along that line that I have drawn for my bear. I'm gonna keep cutting up. Now, whoop, I need to stop. Okay, so now is when I need to really turn my paper. So I'm gonna readjust my hand all the way up here, turn my paper, come back in here, and I'm gonna start cutting again. My other hand is already getting a really big workout. I'm turning my paper. Whoop. I'll relocate my hand again, there we go. Now if you want, you can go ahead and come straight right here and cut off that piece of paper right there and remove it. Just get rid of it. Put it in the trash, don't put it on the floor. Okay, then we're gonna turn our paper, cut the top of his head. Ooh, gotta stop again. Turn my paper, here I go. Change my hand. See how my other hand, it is really getting a workout. Whew. Gotta stop here, turn that bear. Turn that bear. Here we go. Keep cutting along. Whew. All right, put this in the trash, not on the floor. Okay, so he is ready for me to create my background to glue him down to, okay? So you can take your bear, sit him off to the side, okay? Now, here's where we grab our second piece of paper. This piece of paper is also going to be vertical, okay? So it's straight up and down. This would be horizontal. We're gonna make ours vertical. That way our vertical bear will fit on this paper, okay? So, with this part, you want to make sure when we draw our background that we use a pencil for this part, because if we use a washable marker for the background, then it's going to smear, because this is the part that we're going to paint if you have markers. If you don't have markers, that's fine. You can use crayon. Okay, so again, this background is inspired by the artist Ted Harrison, and he drew really simple backgrounds. He was inspired by a place called the Yukon Territory, which is in Canada. Has lots of mountains and snowy scenes, cool stuff like that, okay? So we're gonna just draw a super simple background that we're gonna glue our bear onto. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take your pencil and you're gonna come about a finger's height from the bottom, and you're gonna just kind of draw a bumpy line, and it's gonna slant down that way. So you can see this part's taller than this part, okay? Then we're gonna start way up over here and do the same thing, kind of a bumpy line. We don't want it perfectly straight. There. We're gonna do this one more time. So we're gonna come up here, bumpy line. This can come all the way down like that. Now we're gonna add some mountains to the background. These are kind of gonna look like a triangle or an upside down V. I'm gonna put one right here. I'm gonna come up, curve, and back down. Maybe I wanna do one over here, up, and back down. That looks pretty cool. I might add one more, just for fun. Okay, and now I've drawn my background. So this is the area that my bear is gonna sit in front of, like this, okay? So if you have crayons, you can take your crayons and you can color this background, okay? Or if you want it to look more of like a painted background, then you can also use some washable markers. Now you need to make sure these are washable markers if you want to turn them into kind of a paint looking surface, okay? Permanent markers will not work for this. So I'm gonna show you how we're gonna add some color to these mountains and make them look like they were painted. So I'm gonna take my marker and I'm gonna just start drawing a few lines inside my mountain. If you'll notice, I'm not really coloring thick and juicy. I'm actually just drawing some lines, but I am staying within the lines of my mountain. Keep going. I think I want to leave that mountain a different color, but I want this one to be this pretty turquoise green color, so I'm going to color this one with some lines too. And if you want, you can just color your background with markers too and leave it at that. I love coloring with markers. And I really love coloring with crayons. So any of that's fine. Put my cat back on my marker. And then I'm going to use some purple. And for this side, maybe I just want to do some straight lines coming in like this. Now, if you want your little section to be a little bit darker, you can add a few more lines. But again, you do not have to color the whole thing if you're going to turn this into paint. Okay. Cap back on. I just love the way that sounds when that cap snaps on. Must be an art teacher thing. And then for these lines, I'm going to go straight up and down. But you'll notice I'm staying inside these pencil lines that I've drawn. Is that making sense? Yeah? Okay. So I'm coming up along here. Ooh, I almost got a little sloppy right there. Slow down, Miss Nichols. There we go. Okay. Snap. Let's have one more color. For this one, I'll go this way again. Okay. Maybe I'll make this one this light blue color. Cool. Okay, and then the next thing that I'm going to do for the sky, just to do something a little different, a little fun, I'm going to flip my paper over so it's easier for me to draw. I don't have to reach all the way up there. I can just flip my paper over. I'm going to add some crazy dotted lines in the sky. I had so much fun drawing those dotted lines for the fur of my bear, but I'm going to do some more dotted lines up here for the sky. If you want to just color your sky normal, totally cool. You do not have to do exactly what I'm doing. Do your own thing, right? That's the fun thing about art. Make it your own. What can you do to make this your very own picture? How can you make yours different? These swirls kind of look like Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night painting, don't they? Pretty cool. Okay. Now, if you do not have a paintbrush, you could leave your background like that, and that looks super cool to me to glue your bear down on the front of. Super cool. If you want to go a step further and you have some water and a paintbrush, then here's what you can do to turn this marker into paint. So I'm using a dog dish. As you know, that you guys know I like to use dog dishes for my water because it helps paint not spill. You probably don't have a water dish that you can use your water in, and that's totally fine. Maybe you have like a paper cup or a lid or a juice glass or something like that. Okay, so whatever you have. If you have a paintbrush, here's how you can turn these marker lines into paint. What you're going to do is you're going to take your brush, you're going to dip it in your water, wipe it on that edge, and then you're going to just start wetting the areas that you have drawn on with marker. Now, I'm making sure to stay inside of my pencil lines, okay? I don't want to just go crazy and paint all over the place because then I'll mix and smear all the colors together. But as you can see, since these are washable markers, this water is actually waking up the ink that you just drew on your paper with. It's kind of saying like, hey, wake up, turn into paint, which is really quite cool, okay? So even if you don't have a set of paints in your house, you can paint with your markers. So this first mountain is painted. Now, since I'm still using the same color over here, I'm gonna continue going along and painting this before I rinse my brush. I'm gonna kind of trace along that line, that outline. Ooh, there we go. If you're painting on a surface, you need to make sure maybe you have something underneath also to kind of keep your surface nice and clean, maybe a paper towel or something like that. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my brush in my water, wipe it on the edge, and now I'm gonna paint that other mountain. You can see this looks a little lighter because this was a lighter colored marker that I used to draw on this one right here. And I'm just going back and forth, wetting all those marker lines, turning it into paint. There, rinse my brush. Now I'm going to paint the purple. And I'm just going to go back and forth until I have added water to all of those marker lines. I just love painting. So much fun, isn't it? There we go. I'm almost done. And I think for the sky, I'm just gonna, whoop, look, my two waters kind of got together and that paint smeared with the purple. I kind of think that looks cool. I'm okay with it. I'm not upset about that at all. Now my purple and green land have kind of smeared together. They're friends. I like that. That's cool. Keep going along here. I'm use some of that water from over here to bring along the edge. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth until I've got all this turned into paint. This is a lot less messy than a paint tray too, isn't it? And like I said, you need to make sure you're using washable markers for this. If you don't use washable markers, it won't work out quite as well. One more section. There we go. Coming all the way to that edge. And I'm always kind of using my finger over here to hold my paper in place so that my paper doesn't slide all over the place while I'm moving my paintbrush around. This is a much lighter blue, and I think that looks kind of nice with the dark green. Now you'll see that I used all cool colors. So the cool colors on the color wheel are your purple, blue, and greens. If you want to use some warm colors like red, orange, yellow, or pink, that is totally fine. I just kind of wanted to stick with cool colors. But you do not have to use the colors that I used. You can use whatever colors you would like. Okay. And I think I'm just going to leave my sky swirly. So we have finished our background, and we have also finished our polar bear. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to glue our polar bear down to the surface. But what I'm going to do is wait until this paper is dry. So you may want to kind of just let your paper sit for an hour or two until it's nice and dry before you try to glue your bear down. All right, so I have let my paper dry, my painted paper. So now it is time to glue my polar bear down to my paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bear, flip him over. I've got a little container of glue. Now, if you don't have this kind of glue and you have just a glue stick, that will work perfectly fine too. If you don't have glue, you could also use something like tape to attach your bear, okay? What I'm gonna do is take my glue and I'm gonna put just a little dot kind of in each corner and along the edges. You do not need a ton of glue. We don't wanna be wasteful with our supplies. Twist my glue shut. If you have a glue stick, make sure you put the cap back on it. Then we'll take one finger and I'm just gonna spread out that glue just a little bit. Now I've got a little bit of glue left on my finger, so I'm gonna take that and I'm just gonna wipe it in the middle of my paper, and now my finger is clean. You can also kind of rub it together to get the rest of the glue off of it if you want. Here is my background paper. I'm gonna take my bear with glue, flip him over, and I wanna make sure that this straight edge is gonna line up with this straight edge. So I'm gonna slide him down right there, give him a little pat. And then once I've patted him down, I'm gonna flip my paper over and I'm gonna give him a massage. So I'm just gonna take my hand and rub back and forth to make sure that my bear is really well attached to that background I've created. And voila, there is our polar bear with his background. Thanks guys, have a great day. See you later. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed creating these art lessons. And thank you again for tuning in for this. I also wanted to give you a quick heads up. If you will start saving some recycled supplies that we will be using for future art projects, make sure it's okay with your parents and they understand that you're not just stockpiling trash and that you actually have something you're going to use this stuff for. But the first thing I want you to start saving is going to be pieces of cardboard. Okay, so like this was just a leftover box that I cut out and saved this piece of cardboard. I also want you to please start saving any kind of like cereal boxes, and so they're not as thick as like a pizza cardboard would be. They're a little bit easier to cut, but we'll be using this for a project. So if you have any extra cereal boxes or snack boxes, save those. Also, start saving some toilet paper rolls. We're going to be doing some projects with these. Also, save egg crates if you have them. Save some of these. And any small boxes that you might have. This is like a soap box. This is one that had like a food item. So if you have any little boxes like these, start saving these. Maybe set aside a little spot where you can start saving some stuff. You can also save some, this is a paper towel roll, and also some tin foil. So we will eventually be using projects with all these recycled supplies. So if you want to go ahead and start setting them aside now, that'd be awesome. Thanks guys. See you next week. Love you, miss you.